No, I stole it.
For me.
Harper had mock trial. I was just their age. She asked if we had.
We're ready. I'll call the meeting to order at 5:15. Take the roll, please.
Councilmember Cole?
Here.
Councilmember Becker?
Here.
Councilmember Wong?
Here.
Councilmember Norby?
Here.
Mayor Mundy?
Here. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
So moved.
So move, Councilmember Cole.
Second.
Second, Councilmember Wong. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Our topics.
Thank you, Mayor. We had two topics tonight. First up is Ramsey County 2024 McKnight Road Mill and Overlay Project. We have engineer Morgan Dolly here to discuss.
Thank you, Brian. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this item is on your regular city council meeting agenda for tonight, and so the intent here from myself and in conversation with the city manager, we just thought we'd maybe dedicate 5 or 10 minutes just for a quick overview. But ultimately, we do have members of Ramsey County Public Works staff coming to the regular meeting to do a little bit more in-depth presentation, certainly answer questions of the city council that might have at that time direct from their standpoint. But in summary here, as we just describe what's going on here, the ultimate thing that Ramsey County is going to be asking the city council for is for action to make a determination on no parking along McKnight Road. So the impetus for this discussion is Ramsey County is planning overlay improvements from 11th Avenue all the way up to County Road D in this construction season, so in 2024. They've been planning this for some time. You may recall that the city of North St. Paul initiated water main improvements last year. The intent of that was to fix some of our old aging water main before Ramsey County actually got to this point where they're going to be putting some investment of public dollars into the pavement surface on McKnight Road. And McKnight Road is a Ramsey County roadway, so they own the road, they maintain the road. However, the city by ordinance does have control over parking even on county roads, and so that's why they're coming to the city council with some questions to consider here. As they started looking at the replacement of the pavement, that's certainly an opportunity, whether it's a city project or a county project, to look at different things with restriping the road, reconfiguring the road. And currently, McKnight Road between 11th Avenue and about 17th Avenue, approximately, is a 4-lane, divided in some sections and undivided in other sections. Now, Ramsey County has had on a handful of projects over the years some success in converting some of those 4-lane roads to a 3-lane configuration. It's called a 4 to 3-lane conversion, which is it's something that from an engineering standpoint or a road authority standpoint is considered when you have the right mixture of turning traffic levels and also traffic volumes in general on the road. They have seen some success in terms of looking at the data before and after they've done the conversion on some of their projects from 4-lane to 3-lane. Less accidents in some cases, less congestion, I guess, delays in certain situations. And they feel that it's a more efficient use of the asphalt pavement. Also allows some potential opportunities for multimodal improvements, things like including shoulders where there were not shoulders before, which provides some safety benefits in some situations, dedicated bike lanes for other uses besides just cars within the roadway. So they took it upon themselves, their staff, their engineering staff did evaluate different things with respect to what they could do. And they've come up with a couple different alternatives to discuss with the city council. And the information is in your packet, so I don't want to go into a deep dive here, but generally what they're proposing to do between, basically for the whole corridor, that they're going to be doing an overlay project from 11th Avenue all the way up past the border with Maplewood into Maplewood up to County Road D, is to affect that 3-lane conversion. So it'd be, instead of 4 lanes in some sections, or in other sections, 2 lanes with shoulders, it would be 2 lanes with a shared center left turn lane. So what that does is if somebody's turning left, people can go around them. They don't have to hold up traffic necessarily. But then also, there's enough road width there without widening the road to be able to provide some shoulder treatments. The city of Maplewood has stated that they're in support, and up and down Maplewood, they don't have any existing parking to deal with, but so they have supported Ramsey County's wishes to potentially put in a bike lane. So north of Beam Avenue, which is the border between Maplewood, on this project, there will be dedicated bike lanes as per Maplewood's wishes. At least that's my understanding in talking with their folks. And then what we have south of Beam Avenue is an interesting situation where a short piece between Mohawk Road and 17th Avenue is actually there's residential properties there that have existed there since the 1960s that front on McKnight Road, which is fairly uncommon. Usually on some of these busier county roads or collector roads, they might be side yards and not necessarily front yards with driveways for folks. But it does happen in some situations. And they have historically, since approximately 1965, they have had on-street parking in front of their homes. Now, upon city staff, my encouragement of Ramsey County staff, we thought it was important that they hold a public meeting, they have an open house, they invite residents from the area, they get feedback. They did go through that process. I did attend the meeting. I did hear very loud and clear from the residents that have lived there, and there's 1 or 2 people that have actually lived there since 1965, which was the last time the county did improvements on that roadway. And it was communicated to me that it was a very big deal for those residents to fight for that parking at that time. The city council did consider a request, just like we're going to consider at the regular meeting here. And the parking was retained at that time, 1965, long time ago, right? So hearing that, I think the county did their due diligence in providing 2 different options for the city of North St. Paul to consider. So one of them is dedicated bike lanes up and down all the way from 11th Avenue to the end of the project. The other one kind of honors this historical legacy of on-street parking between Mohawk and 17th Avenue and repurposes that shoulder to a multi-use shoulder so it can be used by bikes. It can also be maintained as for on-street parking for that short 2-block area there. And it also maintains some consistency with their intent to provide a bikeable shoulder. So it's in some areas, and this is not uncommon throughout Ramsey County. It also is in North St. Paul in 2015 or 16, they overlaid 7th Avenue west of McKnight Road. Same thing, they came to address the city council. The city council at that time said that they would like to maintain on-street parking, and so they still striped it. It's still a bikeable shoulder, but it still maintains on-street parking. So similar situation here. 2 options, again, they did discuss that publicly. The information in your regular meeting packet has copies of comment cards. Folks that live both on McKnight Road and also just in the neighborhood that were interested in the project. There's a lot of support for the project. Certainly the pavement has kind of lived its life and people would like to see the road improved. General support for the idea of 4 to 3 lane conversion. But I thought it would be a good just kind of precursor to just kind of on a high level lay out those 2 options for you all answer any questions that I can answer ahead of time and not take too much time from the chief in terms of his item, which is probably much more important than this one. So with that, I'll stand for any questions that the council might have. That, again, kind of as an early kind of first look at this, the two options, what the county might be doing. As an end item here in terms of the action during the regular meeting, there's two different resolutions already prepared either way, whichever way the city council wants to go with this parking, whether it's dedicated bike lanes or whether it's the multi-use shoulder. And so that's the action item during the regular meeting. For this time, at this time, during the workshop, it's simply discussion only. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those at this time.
Any questions, anyone?
Yeah, I have a question. So you discussed that there was a large segment that was forward-facing. Do you know what the distance is roughly from Mohawk to, I think it's Shawnee Drive?
It's, without measuring it, it's going to be approximately 1,000 feet. It's going to be between 900 and 1,200 feet, so it's going to be about that. But it's about a 2-block stretch.
And so thinking about parking spaces, what would that equate to?
Now you're really going to put me on the spot from a
Sorry.
math standpoint. So
Roughly.
it's not 100% because there are some lane shifts and developments there, I guess. So you can't park all, if you live there, you can't park all the way to the curb right now. A parking stall is approximately 20 feet. The lot widths that are there are about, I think, 60 feet wide. So I think, not including the driveway, right? I think that on-street parking per household is going to be between 1 and 2 parking stalls for those homes that in front of there. And there's approximately 30 to 35 homes.
Are these all single-family homes?
To my knowledge, yes, they all are. Some may be rentals. I don't have the data on that. It was discussed at the open house. There's one group home that operates, and there was some discussion amongst the neighbors. They all are in support of the operation of the group home. They're good neighbors, but there are cars on a daily basis, 1 or 2 or 3 cars that park on that group home, and that group home is one of the residential properties that fronts on McKnight. So there was some concern by the neighbors. There wasn't a representative from the group home there that I met, but there was some concern in terms of if the parking is taken away, how would they be able to continue their operations, right? There may not be enough driveway length or width for more than 1 or 2 cars, and at times it was reported to me that there might be more than that on a regular basis for that operation of the group home.
On projects like this, when they're being vetted, are they ran past the police department and fire department to see if they have any recommendations one way or the other?
I can't say if they contacted the police department. I'm guessing not. There was that open house, but I don't know if you guys got a specific invitation.
Not that I recall on this specific item.
We do know that Maplewood Fire uses 17th North on McKnight as access to the northern part of Maplewood. They come down County Road C/17th and turn north up there, so. Which currently is 1 lane each direction with parking.
Right, I can't speak from an emergency services perspective, but the concept or idea of having a shared center left turn lane to eliminate holdups behind someone that might be turning left, especially in those sections of the road that are currently just 2 lanes. I mean, that would provide more opportunity, I guess, for emergency response without having to, jump the curb or something if there is some situation that's being, that's blocking both lanes, both oncoming traffic and, maybe queued up traffic that is in the direction of travel for emergency services.
Well, I also, down when you go on the other side of town, south going, from South Avenue by the Holiday going, south on McKnight, they're at 3 now, where they have and that's, I think, worked out really well. I like the idea of having the third in the middle because people get locked and then they try pulling out in front of each other, so safety-wise, I can, that's a good deal, I think, for us. It's just the parking now that I think 3 lanes would help the cause for flow.
And I just touched on it briefly, and maybe the Ramsey County staff can give more specific examples, but their first 4 to 3 lane conversion was maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, and they were a little concerned if the data would really support it, and they have been very pleased with the outcome of it in terms of traffic operations and accident data, I guess, that they've been collecting from their standpoint, not local police, but from their standpoint. We are at 15 minutes, so I don't want to take up any more of the chief's time, but certainly, again, there's no need for action at this time, just kind of a high-level primer for you folks before the regular meeting agenda item where there would be resolutions to consider for the on-street parking for either of the 2 scenarios. And Ramsey County is perfectly fine with either one. They're not pushing one over the other. They wanted to create some flexibility for local consideration, I guess, from the city standpoint, knowing that this was a kind of a unique situation on a county road to take into consideration, so.
As a city engineer, do you have any, as far as, concerns? Is, having that shared with parking and biking and everything else? Is there anything that you could add to it?
From my standpoint, and I did mention this in my memo, I mean, my recommendation is to maintain the parking. I do think that there's the ability within a multi-use shoulder, and also given the fact that one of the data points that the county has provided is parking counts, so it's fairly lightly parked through that area. That's a handful of cars a day. It's not unlike, for example, 7th Avenue west of McKnight Road in North St. Paul, which is on Ramsey County's bike facility map. I'm not aware of any issues or problems that have happened there with bikers versus, the occasional parked car. So I think weighing all of the factors and considering all of the interests, I think it's a reasonable recommendation to consider maintaining the parking. And so that's where I stand. Also having talked to several residents out there. And knowing that there is some system continuity, it's only a short piece. So, moving north, if you're a bicyclist, south, other areas, there is certainly the opportunity to provide that dedicated bike lane where it can be, where it fits and where it's not a significant change from a parking restriction standpoint, as it's been sitting for the last 60 years approximately.
Thank you.
All right. Next topic, item B, consider approving joint powers agreement and authorize entering into a partnership with the state of Minnesota BCA Violent Crime Reduction Unit. You guys will be voting on that in the council meeting. We have 2 gentlemen from BCA. We'll turn it over to Chief Babenroth to start us off.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Very glad to be here tonight to discuss this significant and collaborative opportunity that will absolutely enhance public safety in North St. Paul and throughout Minnesota. And we're very fortunate to have been selected to participate in this. Just a brief background on how we got to be in this position to be able to engage in this opportunity. Violent crime in Minnesota, especially within the 7-county metro area, has increased in recent years. Aggravated assault, robbery, rape, murder, all increased from 2020 to 2021. In 2018 and 2019 combined, there was 24,777 violent crimes reported in Minnesota. Fast forward to 2021 and 2022 combined, there was 33,750 violent crimes reported in Minnesota. So comparing those two sets of years, this was an increase of almost 9,000 violent crimes, or 36.22%. And we are no different in North St. Paul from what we have experienced, unfortunately. To expand on this a little bit, in January of this year, we had 3 stabbing victims from domestic incidents, 1 victim brought to near death. In December of '23, our officers arrested a man for pointing a gun and threatening to kill several people. Come to find out, this gun had an auto sear and did not have a serial number. In June of '23, we had a homicide where we recovered approximately 20 firearms and a firearms manufacturing operation. This past Friday, a judge issued guilty verdicts on all charges that we brought against a person responsible for killing Shayna Daniels in North St. Paul on August 25th, 2022. In November of '22, we had 2 people stabbed numerous times, where 1 unfortunately died and a 3rd person was shot and killed. Fall of '21, our officers had to fight to get a loaded gun from a student in North High School. We had community members somehow dodge being struck by 17 rounds shot at them for trying to keep their vehicle from being broken into. In June of 2021, a person was shot and paralyzed in an apartment building in North St. Paul. We're finding meth, fentanyl, firearms in vehicles and on people throughout North St. Paul. And we've also assisted a lot of other agencies who have came to town with search warrants, actively looking for dangerous and violent criminals in the recent months and years. So in response to these growing violent crime trends, in 2023, the Minnesota legislature approved funding for a violent crime reduction support initiative within the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension and the Minnesota Department of Public Safety to make an information-driven, collaborative team effort to stop violence and improve public safety in our communities. And I'm very grateful to have here with us today 2 very highly regarded leaders in law enforcement with the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, Deputy Superintendent Scott Mueller and Special Agent in Charge Jake May. Deputy Superintendent Mueller heads the BCA's investigative services, which includes predatory crimes, narcotics, homicide, use of deadly force, conflict investigations, as well as the Minnesota Fusion Center, the Financial Crimes Task Force, and Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. Special Agent in Charge May has worked in the Special Investigations Unit and the BCA's Emergency Response Team. He's also worked as a team leader in the Drug Enforcement Administration in Minneapolis. Recently, Special Agent in Charge May was tasked with initiating and operating a unit which has helped to arrest over 1,200 violent criminals in the Twin Cities area, and he will now lead the Violent Crime Reduction Unit. So I will turn it over to Superintendent Mueller and Special Agent in Charge May, who will further discuss this new effort to reduce violent crime.
Welcome.
Mayor, council members, Mr. Frandl and Chief, I appreciate you having us here tonight. I have just a simple goal of giving you information about our unit, what we're looking to do, and kind of where that spawned from a year to a year and a half ago to where we are today. If you give me just a quick second to get this up and going. Hopefully this is coming across for you. What you're looking at here is a focused enforcement detail, and I'm kind of starting halfway through my presentation just to go back to the beginning. This right here is what we're looking to do really across the state of Minnesota, but very specifically within the 7-county metro area. A focused enforcement detail is very specifically not just a saturation detail, but very focused on specific people we're looking for or specific crimes that we're looking for. Over the last year and a half, we all know that Minneapolis has been in kind of a rough way when it comes to responding to crime. I think we can all agree on that. The BCA was asked to come in and assist them with their violent crime. We sent over 10% of the BCA's investigative staff to Minneapolis with a simple goal of just disrupting violent crime. I actually sat down with this unit and expressed to them, under no circumstances are you going to go after narcotics. I want you to go after shootings, I want you to go after homicides, and I want you to go after guns. It was about 6 months later that the group sat me down and said, sorry, boss, there is literally no way we can go after any one of those three without a direct correlation to fentanyl and other drugs that you're seeing both in North St. Paul and across the state. The pictures that I'm showing here are in no means trophy photographs by any means, but just simply a very quick snapshot of the stuff that we're seeing on a daily basis. And I'll give you some of the numbers that we've seen over the last year as well. Like I said,
Excuse me one second. Can we get the screen up here so we can see? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's hard to get a glare off of the lights. Thank you. Sorry about that.
sure, not a problem. A good majority of the narcotics that we're seeing are the same thing that we're seeing across the state. Fentanyl being by far the biggest. Virtually every person that we are arresting related to a shooting, a homicide, or some sort of gun charge is carrying fentanyl with them and an amount of distribution levels. For the last year and a half, we've had just our agency. We have also had the city of Fridley, about 6 months into this operation, approach us saying, we would like to put a person on this unit as well. This was just a BCA unit to start with. And we took this person from Fridley on. When we initially sat down with the chief of Fridley, he approached us wanting to start this partnership. We started talking about what are the individual benefits of just Fridley, since we're working metro-wide within the 7-county metro area by and large, although we do travel to different parts of Minnesota depending on where the crime and the guns and drugs are moving. But by and large, like I said, it's within that 7-county metro area. What he quickly learned is the one person that they put on the unit, it was a force multiplier by a dozen people that they had there. In other words, 2 weeks later, they had a drive-by shooting in Fridley, and it was simply one phone call to the person that they had assigned to this team. That person actually wasn't even with the team. They were out of town at the time, but they called back to the team. We had a dozen agents within that city, and I think it was within about 48 hours that the person that did the shooting was apprehended. So not only just a force multiplier, but it brings with it the rest of what this violent crime mask was all about. In 2023, when we originally went to the legislature, we looked at kind of a three-pronged approach. One being information. We have to have better information in law enforcement to be able to go after the people that are truly committing these crimes, whether it's individuals or organizations. Part of our legislative request is just that. We are looking at information, everything from incarceration information to information for people that have recently been arrested, that have previous convictions elsewhere, and specifically are committing crimes right now. How do those tie together? Well, in a couple of different ways, which includes the second section of our legislative request, which is our laboratory request. So how do you tie somebody that does a shooting in North St. Paul to somebody that does a shooting in Minneapolis to somebody that does a shooting in another part of the state of Minnesota when you don't have a gun? Well, the first step is to collect cartridge casings at a scene, process those cartridge casings through our NIBIN system at the BCA, along with fingerprints and DNA as well. If you're not familiar with the NIBIN system, that's a National Integrated Ballistics Information Network. Basically, it's a database of cartridge cases and marks specifically on cartridge cases that correlate to guns across the country. Therefore, when you do find a gun, now you can start tying that gun to different shootings, different crimes across the country. As soon as you start putting that information along with E-Trace, in other words, tracing back where the gun was bought and sold from, you start coming up and developing suspects or persons of interest. Moving on from that is, like I started with, is our enforcement team. So working with our laboratory, our information group that's coming up with the people that are doing these shootings, now we task our enforcement group with going out and finding them. How do we do that? Well, through a lot of different areas. I'm not going to get into very specific strategies that we have, just kind of overarching strategies. We're doing proactive drug investigations as long as they have a homicide, shooting, or gun nexus to them. We are looking at auto theft conspiracies, not just simply auto thefts. I think we can chase auto thefts all day long with 3 times the amount of people in the metro area right now, but we're looking at groups of people that are stealing dozens and dozens of cars. There's a Ramsey County team and a Minneapolis team that are both actively working auto thefts. This team is to supplement some of the work that they're doing when it comes to large conspiracy-type groups. Reactive shooting investigations, whether you're talking about just your drive-by shooting where nobody was hit, all the way up to a homicide and everything in between. We are not going to specifically peel off cases from agencies, but we're going to work in conjunction with those agencies. In other words, the homicide that occurred here attempted homicide that occurred here several weeks ago, this would be a team that would come in and supplement both investigations in North St. Paul and BCA homicide that would be working side by side together. What does this team look like? We're going to have a SAC May that's here with me today, has been tasked with leading this group. He has a long history of leading both violent crime and narcotics groups in the state of Minnesota. We have 2 ASACs that'll be tasked with kind of East and West Metro, although they'll all be housed together in one location. 7 agents on one team, another 7 agents on the other team. So the BCA, we are going to put in 14 agents into this group. We have 12 individual agencies that are looking to put a task force member on this team. Along with that, because we know that in an enforcement group, cops can't do everything. We have civilian support staff that are literally embedded into this group as well. Both criminal intelligence analysts to focus the cases in on very specific organizations and individuals. And then we also have prime victim advocates that we are in the process of hiring that will be embedded into the group as well to be able to get services to the people that we need to get services to for the cases that we're working as well. Just some of the real high-level stuff that we do to either develop persons of interest, suspects, or how we work through cases. The BCA, as the chief touched on, has a variety of other resources at its disposal. A financial crimes task force, a human trafficking task force, our narcotics task force, a homicide unit, a predatory crimes unit, a force investigative unit. We have a lot of different resources just within investigation that will be supplementing this team as well. In other words, if this team is working in, say, Oakdale, for example, and they arrest an individual for buying and selling firearms, and they realize that that person is also buying and selling individuals, in other words, human trafficking, we have a team that's going to come in and marry up with that violent crime team to work those cases as well. As far as some of the technology that we have, obviously that technology at the BCA will support this team as well. Everything from social media and cell phone exploitation to other things. This right here is the slide that I'm going to end on and kind of open it up for questions and specifically talk about either where this unit is going to be located, how are they going to get their cases. I know you have a lot of questions similar to those. This right here, this is 12 people in 13 months. I appreciate the time. Like I said, I know you'll have a bunch of questions. I tried to address some I'd like to elicit from you. And I'll start it off for you. The location. We have are working with the city of Maplewood to take over one of the city-owned buildings in Maplewood for this violent crime enforcement unit.
Thank you very much. Open to questions?
Thank you for your presentation. I have a question. Is it North Maplewood or South Maplewood?
For the location,
Yeah,
South Maplewood.
thank you. It seems that you also have a proactive and a reactive kind of approach. With the amount of crime, how does that break down in terms of percentage of time invested in proactive versus reactive or reactive?
Really both. One of my expectations is the task force members on the team, not the BC agents, but the task force members on the team. That is really the information that's going to feed a lot of the team. In other words, the chief calls and says to either their person they have on the task force or the supervisors of the task force, here's what we had happen in North St. Paul last night. We need help with X. Or this just happened 5 minutes ago, we need help with Y. So this would be local agencies feeding the task force cases. This task force is going to be large enough to be able to do its own proactive work as well. How that fluctuates, it really depends. I anticipate at the beginning of it, probably a lot more proactive work, and then having it even out as that team gets comfortable and those cities get comfortable feeding cases to this group as well. This is a group, much like the rest of our groups at the BCA, this is a partnership group. This isn't the BCA coming in and taking a case and walking away with it. This is really coming alongside either the city or the county that is going to have somebody on this task force as well. There are cities and counties we know, whether it's within the 7-county metro area or across Minnesota, that don't have the breadth to be able to put somebody on this team. We're not going to overlook those jurisdictions as well. I have, in the last 2 weeks, had several people on this group up in Red Lake, helping them with a couple of drive-by shootings. If you don't know, there is kind of a direct pipeline of criminal activity between the metro area here to other parts of Minnesota, so we do help them out from time to time. This is going to be a statewide team. Having said that, we know just by the population and the crime data that's out there, the vast majority of that is here within that 7-county metro area.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I really appreciate all that you do. Am I correct in that you would have to get involvement from other departments if this goes across state lines?
Yes and no. We have about 3/4 to half of this team that will be federally deputized as well. We already have the BC agents that will be on this team that will be federally deputized, and we'll be probably moving down the road of that with our, or I should say, for our task force members as well. That gives us a little bit more breadth, both in surrounding states and across the country. Yeah, I guess one other thing that I should touch base on too is just how the BCA is set up. We have 13 field offices and regional offices across the state of Minnesota, from Roseau down to the Iowa border and kind of everywhere in between. One of the nice things about the BCA creating a task force like this is we are already set up across Minnesota to be able to reach out and have other agents in other areas do things for, whether it's the Human Trafficking Task Force or this team itself. In other words, if somebody needs to be interviewed in Duluth, rather than sending 3 or 4 people up to Duluth, these people on this task force and agents can pick up the phone, call our Duluth field office and say, we need somebody interviewed, and saves a lot of travel time and things like that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Oh, Norman?
Oh, yeah, just kind of,
Okay,
you
that's it.
know, Just wondering why North St. Paul?
That's a good question. I would ask the same. Wonderful question. Here's what I would tell you. I started my law enforcement career in the city of White Bear Lake for the first 10 years of my life. This is a partnership agency, meaning the city of North St. Paul. I worked a lot of nights in partnership with this city. We looked for partners across that 7-county metro area that the BCA has historically partnered with and have had great relationships and good outcomes from those partnerships. Having said that, moving on to just the crime data, we looked at crime data per capita as well. So when you look at very specific cities, there are cities that have a really high crime per capita, and then violent crime per capita, and then you also have cities that maybe have a little bit less than that, but are what I consider pass-through cities to some degree. White Bear Lake is sometimes considered a pass-through city. In other words, we didn't have a tremendous amount of drug manufacturing happening in White Bear, but there was a tremendous amount of drugs being transported through White Bear, whether it's on 35, whether it's on 694, whether it's on White Bear Avenue or the like. North St. Paul, just strategically located as a through point between Wisconsin and the metro area, along with a couple of cities along 94, is a direct route.
Thank you.
I was just curious, how this came together now? Has it just been an increase in the violent crime recently that we've seen, or how did you guys come to this point, having this come together?
Sure, good question. So last year, when we sent a good portion of our agents over to the city of Minneapolis, we obviously learned real quick, like, we're not just here to help the city of Minneapolis, like, crime's transient in Minnesota, right? It travels from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, and a shooting that occurs in Minneapolis, maybe the people live in Maplewood or Oakdale or Woodbury or wherever that is. This group had such big success in that area, meaning the Hennepin County and Ramsey County areas, that we had huge support from the governor's office. This was a legislative request for us last year. Part of that legislative request was for this specific task force, knowing that if we replicate and multiply what we did last year, these numbers that you see here are just going to go up exponentially across Minnesota. And taking that amount of firearms, making that amount of arrests, taking that amount of drugs off the street just simply saves lives. That amount of fentanyl pills alone, that could be 144,692 overdoses in Minnesota that were saved just by taking those off the street. Now, those of us in the law enforcement world know sometimes narcotics or the narcotics cases are sometimes never-ending. Like, you could continue to work those, and the suppliers will continue to supply. That's why we go after things along with that, whether it's guns, homicide, shootings, like I talked about before. Having said that, that is a large amount of drugs taken off the street by 12 people in about 13 months. Having said that, when this went through the legislative process, they asked a lot of those questions, like, how are you going to find people that you're going to go after? In other words, what we don't want is somebody walking down the street with a marijuana joint, and now you have a task force after this person. I'm not worried about those people. Those people are not the type of people that are doing drive-by shootings in our communities right now. We have plenty of other people and organizations to go after for that. Part of that is getting that information. Our criminal intelligence analysts, our fusion center, and then also the intelligence that we're getting out of our laboratory, meaning with our NIBIN system, with DNA, working with our federal partners, is how we're going to focus in on what groups or individuals to go after. Looking at that approach, I think, is why the legislature liked it. Part of that is the accountability of it. In other words, the BCA is accountable to the legislature for this group, not the task force members. Part of the way we set up and structured this unit is, and you've seen from other task forces, is we have the BCA running this task force. Part of that is policies and procedures that go along with it. Not that we always do things the best in the world, because we don't. We make mistakes like everybody else, but I think we have a pretty good track record on why we do certain things and how we do them, and then policies to back those up as well. One of the small things, and I don't mean to get into the weeds on a lot of this for you, I know you have other things to make decisions on, but it's body cameras. We're strong believers in body cameras. The BCA is actually going to issue every single person on this unit a body camera, regardless of if they have a body camera from their own agency. Policies, we're huge on policies. We do things a very, very safe way. Not that I want to jinx anything, but I can talk about our use of force stats at the BCA for about the last 10 years. We've had about 3 use of force incidences where we've used any force on somebody over the last 10 years. 10 years. We catch people and apprehend people on a daily basis. We do search warrants by the dozen, sometimes week by week. We do them in a very safe and effective manner. We're more than willing sometimes to let people go just to catch them again another day, as long as it's safe for the community and safe for the people that are working there.
I have a question for Chief Babenroth. That requires one of our officers to kind of leave our area. How do you see the process of hiring when there is a shortage?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and stark reality for every law enforcement agency in the state. Thankfully, we've had a posting out for a while, so we do have a pool of applicants in there right now. So we would be able to hire one of them, and our posting is constantly open. So we're not shutting down any potential future applicant that we might be able to hire if the situation presents itself. So we are in a pretty good place. We're actually full to staffing right now for this moment in time, fully funded to our current complement of 20, thanks to your support to get us the second investigator for 2024, and we have all 20 officers right now, so we're in a pretty good place.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you to the BCA for coming out here. I also think this is a fantastic opportunity for career development and building skill sets. So thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks, everybody.
appreciate it.
Thank you for
Appreciate
the
it.
work.
Nothing further?
So moved?
Councilmember Cole. Second, Councilmember Norby. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. We got 28 minutes. the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Cole?
Here.
Councilmember Schwer?
Here.
Councilmember Wong?
Here.
Councilmember Nordby?
Here.
Mayor Monge?
Here. I get a motion to adopt the agenda, please.
So moved, Your Honor.
So move, Councilmember Norby.
Second.
Second, Councilmember Wong. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We have two presentations tonight. The first one up was a recognition and appreciation of outgoing Park and Rec member Arthur R.D. Alvarez Jr., but unfortunately, he's feeling under the weather this evening, so we're going to put that off. Next one up is the Community Development Annual Report, and I will turn that over to Community Development Director Brandy Howe.
Amen.
Welcome, Brandy.
Well, a lot of the presentations related to our department have already occurred, so this will be fairly short. As you probably realize, we are a small but relatively hardworking department. There is 3 staff, including 3 administrative assistants, Chris Journey, Sarah Lang, and Jill Officer, and myself as the director. And our department is responsible for community services, parks and recreation, economic development, planning and zoning, and permitting and licensing. Customer service for our department includes the monitoring of 7 phone lines, 5 email accounts, and the walk-up customers as well. The day-to-day duties of our staff include responding to resident inquiries, providing notary services, completing data requests, and providing administrative support for other departments, particularly our Public Works Department team. Our Parks and Recreation Department works collaboratively with Public Works to support our city's parks and athletic fields. Specifically, park-related issues that our staff worked on in 2023 include working with the Park and Recreation Commission and City Council on an update to the park rental policy and the facility rental rates. Similarly, we worked with Council on a ball field rental policy earlier this year to address rates specifically, and created a policy for Southwood Nature Preserve. In addition, staff submitted an application for a DNR grant for housing park improvements, and that was awarded for $194,000. And finally, we started a comprehensive planning effort for the city's park and open space system. Our planning and zoning division services include comp plan implementation, zoning administration, development plan review, grant writing, and administration, and conducting long-range planning for the city. In 2023, our department transitioned from consultant-led planning services to providing planning and zoning administration in-house. And in 2023, our staff issued 111 zoning permits, including site plan reviews for new development projects. Major projects in 2023 included the Lilly redevelopment, North High School expansion, and the Taco Bell on McKnight. Staff has also developed several informational brochures for residents to help them out with simple projects related to fences, driveways, and accessory buildings. The department also works to promote economic development interests in the city. In 2023, our staff created a checklist to inform new businesses of the required permits and licensing and any other requirements they may need to open a business in the city. And in 2023, we saw 12 new businesses opened, including Hangtime Board Shop, the Blue Nile Restaurant, the Candy Shop, and Bauer Design Build. And we're also working on updating the economic development portion of our website to improve the ease of access for new businesses and developers. Community development staff also manage the city's participation in several sustainability-focused initiatives, which include the Minnesota Green Step Cities, Minnesota B3 benchmarking, the citywide cleanup and shredding event, our SCORE grant, and we've also assisted communicating the new Ramsey County Food Scraps program. And finally, our staff are also the support for the city commissions with meeting agendas, agenda prep, meeting minutes, and special projects. And as I mentioned, the commission chairs provided their annual report separately in January. So that is a short presentation. If you have any questions about our department, I'd be happy to happy to take those.
Brandy, I'd like to say thank you for all you do. I get the added pleasure of seeing your and Chris's work in the Planning Commission with all your support staff, and you are just wonderful, and I can't thank you enough.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for all your work. You definitely have a vast scope of work, and yeah, you definitely take on a lot of that technical piece too. And I really appreciate your approach to getting grants and things like that. So thank you for everything.
Thank you. I have strong support staff as well.
I did all that. Thanks for finding money.
Any more opportunities, I will definitely work on applying for those grants.
Thanks for holding us together.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next up for the consent agenda, we have January 16th, 2024 workshop minutes. Item B, January 16th, 2024 regular meeting minutes. Item C, general claims of $4,625,783.39. Item D, HRA claims of $15,953. Item E is a temporary on-sale liquor license and charitable gambling application to Church of St. Peter Annual School Gala event on Saturday, April 20th of 2024. Item F, consideration of an ordinance to amend the 2024 municipal fee and utility rate schedule. Item G, purchase 96 electric meters for the Lilly redevelopment project and the apartments that are there. Item H, League of Minnesota Cities municipal tort liability waiver. Item I, project snowy purchase agreement. Item J, resolution approving appointments to the Arts and Culture Commission. Item K, resolution approving a special event permit, History Cruisers Car Show of 2024. Item L, update purchase of the 2024 Mack plow truck. Item M, well sealing program authorization. And item N, considering approving joint powers agreement and authorize entering into a partnership with the state of Minnesota BCA Violent Crime Reduction Unit.
Anybody have anything they'd like to pull?
I'd like to pull item L.
L? Okay. Anything besides item L? If not, I'd like to ask for a motion for the rest of them, excluding L.
So moved?
So move. Councilmember Cole.
Second.
Second. Councilmember Wong. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, open to the public. We have John Schmall. Welcome.
Couple of items. First of all was a situation that I've always come up here in the last 4 or 5 meetings saying LexisNexis, and was intent on doing the same thing, except for the fact that I was informed by another resident that on the website, actually, where it said it's available, it's now been changed to it's not available, and that you're working on it. So it's only taken, 2 months or plus in order to get to this point. But you would have thought that in this situation, that someone who brought up the problem with this LexisNexis would have received notification, an email or something that said, we're working on it. Because prior to that, I've received 0. So, and I had to get information from another resident to say, you realize that they have changed, and it was just today, an hour before I came here, you realize that the website says something about actually dealing with the problem. So, frustrated, a little ticked off, to say the least. Again, I gave you, Mayor, a copy of the proposed fee schedule that had to do with water, and that we were charging something like $3 a gallon when it was really per 1,000 gallons. I don't know what you did with that thing I gave you, probably were filed it immediately, but it has been corrected. It's now got the correct information.
It was taken care of then, so it wasn't
And
filed
I
immediately.
received a thank you for doing that, too. Uh-huh, yes. Anyway, have a nice day.
Thanks, John. Thanks, John. Thank you.
All right. One second, I lost my spot.
Move on to city business action items. Item A and B, budget amendments for the fiscal year 2023 budgets and 2020 7th Street Reconstruction Project MSA reallocations. Both these will be covered by Mr. Winnick, our finance director. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you,
Good
Dan.
evening, Mayor and council members. These two items are really cleanup items. The first one being, it's a budget adjustment, budget amendments for the fiscal year 2023. What it's doing is making sure that we have authorized by the city council the appropriate amount of expenditures to cover what we've got into the budgets. And the significance of this, all of the expenditures have been approved by city council. This is just kind of righting the ship in certain ways, because it is something that our auditors will go through and make sure that we're in legal compliance. There's 4 of them that actually have an impact on fund balance, so I'll kind of focus on those. The general fund, street maintenance, solid waste, fiber optics, do not have any additional impact on fund balance from what was approved in the original budget. The insurance fund does, and that's a significant change. It's reducing the impact on the fund balance by $112,000, and that is due to a significant increase in our workman's compensation. And at the time that we prepared the budget, we did not know of this increase. We didn't know it till later part of the year. And so that's what is attributing to that. In the equipment fund, it's actually going positive by about $13,000. And then in the building maintenance, it has an additional negative impact of about $11,000 from what we had approved in the original budget. And then there's the HRA fund, and that one is showing that it's going to have about a $425,000 decrease in the fund balance. And it's really due to that we haven't sold the one house that's complete. It's on the market. And so as soon as that is sold, that all gets cleared up. But from a budgetary standpoint, we included estimated revenue, which we're now decreasing. And we've started on the expenditure side, we started the next house. That wasn't into the budget. So those are the budget amendments that are there. All of our funds will, right now we're preliminary numbers. There's still some journal entries for financial statement purposes that we're still working on, because our financial statements won't be totally complete until April. But got some good news. And so I kind of want to share that good news because it's actually a very, very nice story. So of these funds, obviously the fiber optics has had a negative cash balance, and we've all are aware of that one. But all of the other funds, even with any of these changes, still have a very good, healthy fund balance. But here's the really good news that I really want to share. Some of the pieces, and first of all, I want to start out by thanking City Council. I want to thank you for your support that you've given me as your finance director in leading the city's financial affairs. And I want to kind of report how we've done in 2023 that I think are pretty remarkable. When I started, we had a fund balance policy that we had 35% for the general fund. City Council, based upon my recommendation, we moved that to have a minimum of 40% to move up to 50%. we're sitting pretty comfortable that we are going to be at 50% at the end of this year. So in 3 years, we have achieved that. There will be an item coming up in March, our first city council meeting in March, that unfortunately how the contract was written for building inspections, and we switched to a different company, a different vendor, that they were done at December 31st. How they were paid was in the contract was written that they would receive any revenue that was given, not necessarily that the services were provided and completed. So unfortunately, as the crossover to a new vendor, there are a significant number of permits that are still open. So we have met with our current vendor, and we'll be bringing an item in March that'll be written as a T&M not to exceed amount, but that amount is $145,000. That'll be coming out of the fund balance. But even with that, we still should be able to be right around that 50% fund balance. That's a remarkable feat that this city has accomplished. And that 50% that I had recommended is really something that comes from the state auditors. And if you think about the general fund's primary revenue is taxes. And our first tax settlement doesn't come in until the end of June, early July. So that's really the reason that we need to be at that 50%. On top of it, it's just going to help us out when we go out for bonds. It's going to help with our rating, keeping it definitely at the AA. And who knows, we can keep our fingers crossed and maybe we can get ticked up a little bit and help us with our interest rates on that. Because in the upcoming year in 2020, towards the end of 2024 and 2025, we'll be preparing to go out for our bond issuance on some reconstruction projects. But kind of want to tell you how timing of things change. We should actually see good fund balances and increases in our fund balances, even in our enterprise funds. A big piece is your leadership, Brian's leadership. It's the department heads that we have, because I've never seen a collective group that is so conservative, that looks at how they're purchasing things, and they treat it like it's their own money. And that is a philosophy that I definitely embrace and love to see. We took a big benefit in 2023, not only from savings, but from investments. As interest rates rise, there's a goofy thing that we have to report on our financial statements, and that's called market value. And market value fluctuates all the time, every month, as market rates go up and market rates go down. In 2022, market rates were going up. So any investment that you had on the books, as it goes up, your market value on that investment goes down. It's considered it's really an unrecognized loss, and we have to report it. It's unrecognized because we don't sell any of our investments ahead of time. We take them through maturity. So we never really truly ever have a loss. But it shows up in our financial statements. Last year, we had a market value loss, these numbers are citywide, of $1.1 million. This year, we have a gain of $580,000. That's a swing from one year to the next of $1.7 million, which is going to show our fund balances in a very, very positive light. In addition, that the city council approved an additional position in the finance department, an accountant, and I think we've got one heck of a great accountant in Mary Kay. Her and I have been able to aggressively invest. Last year in 2022, we had interest income of $624,000. I'm proud to report this year we're at $1.2 million for 2023. That's real dollars that we have brought into the city to help our fund balances. So to me, that's fantastic news. So we have risen from 2020, in my 3 years that I've been here, we've risen our general fund balance from a 36%, $2.8 million, to a 50%, and we're a little over $5 million right now. Again, there's still some invoices to be paid, there's stragglers to come in, but I think we've done a very solid job, and it's your leadership that has made that to be accomplished. And I sincerely thank you for all of that. There is a resolution with this budget amendment, and I certainly will open to any questions.
Questions, anyone?
I'll just thank you and Mary Kay for your work, and appreciate you, changing things over in a matter of 3 years.
And for the one you mentioned with the permits and things like that, we've of course changed now. Are we prepared as far as covering, not going through this again the next time a contract comes up?
Yes, there is a clause in their current contract that'll cover it, but I still want to have our legal review that before we bring it to City Council, because we'll have to do an amendment for that $145,000. We've talked to the vendor. If in case our legal says it's not good enough, they're open for an amendment to that contract. So we would bring all of that on we're targeting for the first meeting in March. Brian has made it perfectly clear to us, and we're all in agreement, and that we're not coming forward and telling you that we're going to do an amendment for $145,000 and we'll let this ever happen again. So yes,
And
we
we
will
can't
be
change the
prepared.
past, but as long as we're
Yep.
going
Moving forward, that it does
any
not happen
contract,
again.
we have a clear way out or a clear, be able to change out.
Correct.
All right, appreciate that. Anything else? All right, now we have to do amendment? Pardon me? Approve the resolution. So the budget amendment for the fiscal year 2023 budget, I have a motion.
So moved, Your Honor.
So move, Councilmember Wong.
Second?
Second, Councilmember Norby. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Nicely done, Dan, thank you.
Yes.
The next item that I have,
Wait
Oh, you got
gave
another
compliments
one.
to
you gave too soon.
Oh.
Part of the 2020 7th Street reconstruction project was that there was a borrowing of MSA dollars. We've mentioned it through our budget process. The project's totally complete. All bills have been paid. There was a allocation of those MSA dollars, and it was about $2.8 million that went to the street portion, and about $750,000 went to the storm portion to it. That allocation could have been split up differently, but it did get city council approval. So to change that allocation requires city council approval, and that's what this item is about. The project's done. We have approximately $132,000 that is still left in the surface water portion of the MSA dollars. We have spent all of the allocation that was for the streets plus more. So what we'd like to do is to transfer the money. And so we can clean up that account and make it whole. And so that's really, it's just again, a cleanup item. And what it does is that this is sitting in a separate investment account all by itself that can't allocate its interest to anything else. So this helps, move it into the allocated portion of our interest. And so then all of our funds will share in any interest income that happens in the future.
Okay. That's good.
Looking for a vote on that resolution?
Can I get a motion for the 2027 Street Reconstruction Project MSA reallocation?
So moved.
So move, Councilmember Cole.
Second.
Second, Councilmember Wong. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks again, Dan.
Next item, item C, Ramsey County 2024 McKnight Road Overlay Project.
Thanks, Morgan.
And-
He has to start first.
Yeah,
Just start with it.
turn it over to you, Morgan.
Thank you, Brian. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this next item before you here is presentation of a project being contemplated by Ramsey County Public Works on McKnight Road, which is a county road between 11th Avenue up to north to city limits with Maplewood at Beam Avenue, and then their project does extend into Maplewood north to County Road D. They have been contemplating lane configuration change through this area as a part of their improvements, which is basically just an overlay of the pavement. But that's the time to kind of consider maybe different configurations for traffic and different things that the roadway might be used for. They are coming here to present the project, a couple different alternatives. And really, the council action here for consideration is by resolution parking restrictions, which even though it's a county road, by ordinance and by authority, the city does have the ability to set no parking restrictions or parking allowances up and down the roadway. And so sometimes with these types of situations on a county project, county officials will come to city councils and request action on that that may be necessary for them to move forward with one alternative or the other. So the county has conducted a public open house meeting for and invited residents up and down the project area, both from Maplewood and North St. Paul, for kind of public comment, public opinion. There's copies of that information in your packet along with some graphics, which I'm sharing one version here, and I'm about to turn it over to the county as well here and let them talk through the project. But as an ultimate end action item here, there are resolutions, no parking resolutions, and there's two different versions, and I'll let the county kind of explain those as well too. But at the end of the presentation questions, there will be a resolution, either one or the other, for the council to act on, depending on how you'd like to move forward with the alternatives. So with that, I'm going to introduce Alan Maxwell. So he's an engineer with Ramsey County Public Works. Alan's the project manager for this project effort, and he'll provide a brief overview of the project, be available for any questions, and I'm going to try to drive the graphics here. So hopefully that's showing up on your TV and for those at home as well too. So I'll hand it over to Alan.
Hey, thanks Morgan, and thank you council for having the county here to give a little introduction of our project. Certainly let me know if you can hear me or if you can't hear me at home through the mic, but yes, Ramsey County is looking to move forward with our 2024 Mill and Overlay Improvement Project. McKnight Road from 11th Avenue to Beam Avenue is the portion located in North St. Paul, and one part of our overall program that we're looking to take care of this year. So this section of McKnight Road, we are looking to take off the top 3 inches of pavement and then repave those 3 inches in order to address all of the cracking and deteriorating road pavement that we see out there today. Also included in this work are the storm catch basins, some of which alongside McKnight Road, which are worn and show signs of failure. So there will be some work happening on the shoulders as they address the castings of the storm sewer, and then a milling and paving operation. Part of this project, since we are removing the pavement and putting it back, we have the opportunity to restripe. And back in 2020, Ramsey County undertook a 4 to 3 lane conversion study of roads within the county, which look at taking roads like this that are currently 2 lanes in either direction, so 4 lane without a dividing median, and looking at converting those to 3 lanes. MnDOT recognizes that a undivided 4-lane road section is the most unsafe intersection configuration in the state of Minnesota due to the amount of conflict points from having both lanes instead of only having to worry about one car in either direction. We're looking to move forward with the safety improvement as part of this project, and so by striping it as 3 lanes, this is going to provide a 7 to 8 foot wide shoulder on both sides of McKnight. And so the question before the council is what your preference would be for what goes into that shoulder following our project. The Ramsey County Acting Living Team has identified a need for bike lanes within this segment of McKnight Road, which would extend over the I-69 or I-694 bridge to the north in Maplewood, connecting Parks and access to the church and the schools all the way down through the corridor to 13th Avenue. And so we would be looking at an alternative in which we have designated bike lanes all the way throughout the Maplewood and North St. Paul section through that corridor. Alternatively, during our community engagement process, we receive mixed feedback to the bike lanes and the loss of the existing parking along Mohawk Road to Beam Avenue. And having conducted a parking survey and evaluated the design, county is open to an alternative section in which we leave an 8-foot shoulder on either side of the road and do not specify that it is a bike lane. This option would allow us to maintain the existing no parking signs, but we would be looking for a resolution from the council to include no parking signs where there is currently no parking today in an effort to align with our all abilities and multimodal policy within the county. So,
You mentioned the right turn lane.
yes, thank you for that, Morgan. One point to mention at 17th Street and McKnight is that there's currently a right turn only lane as for one section of the road, the right lane drops off and becomes a right turn lane, and then you have a one lane for a time. It goes back to being a 2-lane. We're looking to clean all that up with one segment throughout, and so we did obtain traffic counts at 17th and McKnight to evaluate the loss of that right turn lane and what it would mean for traffic. And while losing the right turn lane does affect the right turning traffic, the installation of the designated left turn lane is moving the left turners out of the through lane so that they are able to wait to take their turns and not impede traffic. So taken as a whole, our county traffic engineer has evaluated this impact and has determined that the intersection is still going to be functional without the use of the designated right turn lane. So we would propose continuing the section through 17th as the 3-lane section that Morgan is showing you. And maybe if you want to go back and I can talk through sections as a whole here, Morgan. When we're talking about the intersection of 11th and McKnight, we're not proposing any changes there. We show that that's going to be part of our mill and overlay to update the pavement section, but the 3 12-lane sections on the top of your screen and the 2 on the bottom of your screen, that is similar to what is there today. And then from 11th Street through to 13th Street, we are transitioning down to our 1-lane section so that by 13th Avenue, you are in our 3-lane section in earnest. And then this is what we would propose keeping. The 8-foot shoulders are shown in the example on the screen and are highlighted in red to indicate where those would go. So we would be looking at resolution from no parking from 13th to Mohawk. Yeah. Thanks for manning the screen. So yeah, here you see the intersection with 17th and McKnight and what we propose for putting back. The striped crosswalks are in the same locations as exist today, save one throughout the project limits that's being moved from 16th to 15th, I believe, from a 3-lane or from a T intersection to a 4-way intersection. And then once we get north of Mohawk, this is the section of road where parking currently exists today. And so we would simply not install no parking signs there if that would be the city's preference. And then that would continue all the way up to Beam Avenue and the limits of North St. Paul. Yep. Looking at the bike lane version, it's the same configuration from 11th to 13th. We're looking to keep the intersection the same and then slowly transition out until you get to 13th Street. The areas of no parking would remain the same up until Mohawk, and then we would just carry that forward. The notable change here is that we would provide a 7-foot bike lane, as is typical, instead of the 8-foot shoulder, and those extra 2 feet are being put into the center turn lane themselves, changing it from a 10-foot center turn lane to a 12-foot. And notably, from the condition that exists today, the travel lanes are being narrowed down to 11 feet instead of a variable 12 feet to 11 feet, or 12 feet to 13 feet. And we've seen reduction in speeds at the county from adopting an 11-foot section. This is typical of what we would install on our projects in recent history. And notably, as this continues into the Maplewood section, Maplewood would be looking at a similar no parking and bike lane installation option for their road segment. Yes, we did conduct a parking study for this section of existing parking and found that we average between 2 to 5 vehicles throughout the project limits, Maplewood included, that utilized parking. And seeing as that is underutilized in the condition that it's in today, that is helping us with our alternative to adopt a multi-use shoulder in this alternative. Because we're still allowing the access that we're looking for the most part, save a car every now and again. I think at that point, if the council had any additional questions, I sure would be happy to answer them. Or any clarifications needed between the options. Otherwise, I believe Morgan has presented the resolutions that we would be looking for, one or the other, either adopting an 8-foot shoulder or the 7-foot bike lane to take up that space that the 3-lane conversion is going to provide.
I have a question. Thank you for your presentation. I'm wondering what type of bike lane is being proposed. I know it's 7 feet, but there are also different ways in doing that, whether it's painted green to give more visibility so it's safer, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good question. We found that striping a white shoulder stripe at 7 feet with white bike symbols throughout is the section that we would be proposing. As you get wider than that, there is the temptation for drivers to treat it as a driving lane. And so when you get larger than 7 feet, that's when we would begin looking at options like painting a bike buffer. But for this case, that isn't what we would pursue. The narrowest that we get in this road section is 48 feet, and so that's 2 11-foot lanes for 22, the center lane for 12, taking us to 34, and then 2 7-foot bike lanes for 48. And so since that's restricting us at the narrowest point, that's what we would like to propagate throughout the limits. When you get further north on the intersection and into Maplewood, we do widen out to over 50 feet in a section, and then we are looking at those bike buffer alternatives.
Thank you.
Any other questions, anyone? Sorry. Say that.
Oh, it's just up. Are we ready for discussion?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
See if there's any more questions.
I don't think I have any more questions for the county engineer. Thank you for your presentation. I'm a proponent. I like the bike lanes. I think it's feels a lot safer biking on McKnight. I think that it's an opportunity for us to provide that safe route. And we know that at the end of McKnight, there's also access to the Gateway Trail on the other end too. So I think it would just be helpful to have something that is clear, clearly marked. As we know, people speed on McKnight.
I guess while I have you here, I do have one more question, if you don't mind. This project, the ultimate end goal is South Shore, or how far are you going?
South Shore, for now, we're looking to impact between 11th and Beam. We recognize that Highway 36 exists where it exists, and that there's more desire for 2 lanes in that section, and so we're not looking to carry it further any south at this time.
Out north towards White Bear Lake, after you cross over McKnight.
North
After you cross over in 694, I meant on McKnight, all the way up.
north of 694, the road narrows again, and what exists there today are 1 lane in either direction with shoulders on the side. And so when you get to the bridge on 694 itself, there is a, similar to 17th, a lane that drops off as a designated right turn lane to go to access to business over on that side. And so by striping it all the way north of 694, then we would naturally transition from the bike lanes to the existing shoulder section that people are utilizing.
So are they going to change on the other side by the golf course, on the other side of 694? Are they going to make no parking and make a bike lane all the way to White Bear Lake, or is it just going to stay parking the way it is now?
That's outside of the scope of this project.
Okay. I was just wondering if there's a game plan to get all the way to White Bear Lake from here on McKnight. So that was my question, if they were going to do bike lane continuous.
I can share that our Active Living Council has shared that there was the identified need at 694, which is what led it to be included in this project. They may have other identified needs that go further north. Certainly, the possibility for connecting is, agreeable to all parties involved, but I couldn't speak to that at this
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any opinions?
You said you looked, my only concern is going from. Oh, I thought it was on. My apologies. Maybe I turned myself off. The section between 11th and 17th is still heavily traveled. It's 4 lanes, it's 2 lanes each direction. In recognizing that northbound at 17th, the right lane dead ends into a right-hand turn. You had referenced that you'd done some studies. That's a big backup intersection going north. How is this going to solve or resolve the backup that comes all the way down to at least 15th, if not further down the hill during high traffic time?
That is an excellent question, and it's certainly something that Ramsey County had looked into back in 2020 when we did our evaluation of possible road segments within the county that would qualify for a 4 to 3 lane conversion like this. The ideal amount of traffic that we're looking at for one of these conversions is a daily traffic load of between 8,500 and 24,000. And at the time of the study, which was COVID traffic numbers, McKnight was sitting at about 12,000. It's right in the range that we're looking for this. And so we recognize that by saying we're looking to go from 4 lanes to 3 lanes, 3 is less than 4, and so that has the perception that we're losing something. But if you think about the use of the road, when somebody is looking to turn left, then they're waiting for 2 lanes of traffic to create an opening for them to turn left. And if you're stuck behind that person, then you're looking to get over into the other lane and may make sudden mergers to try and get around where the block is, and that follows all the way further down the line. And similarly, at least up in the Maplewood section, there are bus stops, but you also get mail delivery and people picking up and dropping off at houses, where on the right lane, that can equally slow down and look for people to go across. The The way that the three-lane section handles that is that by having a designated center left turn lane, if you're looking to slow down to turn, you're getting out of the way so that the traffic can remain moving forward. And for the shoulder that this is going to create, 8 or 7 feet is a wide enough section that your car can pull off into it if there's an emergency, or if you're looking to drop somebody off, or if you're looking to deliver mail, and keep the center lane moving forward. So recognizing that there are stop signs along the corridor, it's within the bounds of what we've studied to show that there's an acceptable level of traffic for a project such as this.
I just see a lot of traffic turn left prior to the intersection to avoid the intersection. So I have concerns going to, taking it from 4 lanes down to 2 plus 1,
We recognize that.
up to that point.
Well, certainly, thank you for sharing that with us. It's something that we hear on a lot of our 4 to 3 lane conversion projects, and that's why we do take the level of effort that we do to evaluate each road, because every road in the county, like every road in the city, is different. But this did come away with one of the more positive results of that study as being appropriate for a project such as this.
I know when I take that home, I'm always the right lane because I'm turning right towards Silver Lake, and, it's very quick, and the other lane is over there. When you do your study, does it just the number of intersections, does it count how many people are going which direction, left and right? Or is it just count cars by, bumps going over? How does it do your study as far as that intersection?
MnDOT does drive all of the roads and gather the average amount of daily traffic on the roads, and that's available on their website. And so that's one measure for when you're looking preliminarily at something like this and scoping out how it's going to work. But then for intersections like 17th and McKnight, we did go out and put up cameras to record during peak hours how many cars are actually going through.
So they looked how many turn left, how many right then?
Yep.
That's my question, how is it more people going towards the west or the east when they're turning, so?
Offhand, I don't know that I could say, but I know that those traffic counts have been provided to Morgan. They may be part of the council packet.
And of course, that left lane for turn is going to be, everybody's going to be in that lane. So the middle lane, people going straight aren't going to have to wait for the left turns like they are right now.
Right.
You gotta wait to turn right now.
Now I'm stuck.
Now you're stuck.
All right, we got to talk about this again. All right, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I'm waiting to see if anybody has any more comments before, because I don't want to interrupt anybody, but I don't want to slow the show either. We good? So now, we got 2 things in front of us?
Yeah, so, Mr. Mayor, there's 2 resolutions in your packet. So the first one would be for the multi-use shoulder option, which retains parking, on-street parking between Mohawk and 17th. And so that first resolution, in terms of the now therefore be it resolved, prohibits parking of motor vehicles on McKnight Road on both sides of the road between 13th and Mohawk only. The second resolution would be in support of the full bike lane option all the way through, and that prohibits parking of motor vehicles along McKnight Road on both sides between 13th all the way to the city limits at Beam Avenue. So those are the 2 options in order.
So now,
Do we vote on both?
that's what I'm saying. We vote on the one, the other one goes.
So it'd be a
First vote?
a motion and
Yes.
second to vote on one or the other.
So do I ask for a motion on the first one first, or how does that? I never had 2 of them like this in a row, so I'm trying to figure it out.
You don't have to vote on both. You don't have
No, I
to
don't
vote on
vote.
both.
How do we get it cooking to figure out which one we're going to do?
So a motion and second to vote on one or the other, and then you can take that vote.
Okay.
Could also be further discussion if there's a consensus reached among council on which one you would prefer. You could then bring that one forwards. and vote on that.
We can just do a consensus right now. I can say for consensus for the first one that has parking on there, you know,
Yeah,
what's
so
everything.
discussion among council
Yep.
to try and reach a consensus on which option is preferred, and then vote on that resolution.
Does that make more sense?
Have more discussion?
There's mud.
Okay. So for the first one, which has the way, the parking now is not the bike lane, the full bike lane, but parking in the middle. Does anybody,
That's the one I want. I don't want to discourage the group home. And I believe taking away the parking from the group home would be detrimental to it. So I'm in favor of the first one, the multi-use that still allows some parking.
okay,
That's where my head goes as well, the mixed-use lane. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of cars that are parked there, but there are 1 or 2 spots where the parking is needed.
Yeah, I think my concern there is kind of, in the, like, the feedback, when they're referring to the group home, it said that vans were coming in and just dropping off and coming and leaving. So I don't know if that's, you know, many cars, or is it more like they come and go kind of situation? But that's how I interpreted it when I read it.
my preference is the multi, to be able to use them both.
Cassidy, that's the majority right there.
There you go.
What's your thought?
I like the idea of a bike path, but I would also be a really irritated homeowner if I didn't have parking. So if I lived on that street, I'd want to make sure I have the parking.
I think that's why I asked if it was a, if there are single-family homes, because most of them, or if not all of them, will have driveways. So to me, it's like, well, the bike lane is for the public benefit, whereas this parking only benefits a few residents from time to time, and not always. So that's kind of the trade-off that I see.
All right, should we go vote on the first one then? For the first motion, which is the multi-use, can I get somebody to bring that motion?
Tim?
So moved.
So move. Councilmember Cole,
I'm looking down to my left and nobody's leaning in.
Second.
second. Councilmember Norby. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Nay?
Nay.
Okay.
Carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Do we have to officially vote on the other one?
No.
too? Okay.
He said he would good. Thank you. Appreciate the patience, and we learned something new again today.
All right, next item up, item D, is the update purchase of the 2024 Mack plow truck.
Thank you. I pulled this item for one simple reason. I am absolutely voting in favor, but I view this as a possible opportunity for the city to help our plow truck drivers stay safe out there. They do a very, very hard job, a very difficult job. A lot of the other cities, when they're purchasing new trucks, are adopting like name a plow truck or some way where they can engage their community in some proactive safety measures. And I just thought the purchase of a new truck might be a good way for North St. Paul to kick off some safety measures around plowing as well. So that was why I pulled it. Not because I don't want to purchase a truck, just I see this as an opportunity for the city to implement some safety and learning measures for our residents.
Okay. You want to come name your truck? Come on.
And I'll just say from the open house, for the commissioners, and we were able to go through and see all the buildings and, or all the vehicles and really have a good conversation with Randy and what's your name? Ron. And so I think that was a really educational opportunity, and I learned a lot, and I think that was very valuable.
Very nice. So we just have to move a motion?
So would it
What?
be appropriate,
Okay.
and help me out, if I propose to add a friendly amendment to the city to explore ideas to promote safety around this new purchase, and then move to approve it with that friendly amendment? Is that the right way to do that?
I think the exploring public safety options, I think, can just be done as direction to staff. If there's council consensus, I don't think that needs to be included in any formal action right now. And then that would be brought back at a future council meeting or work session.
Thank you. So moved with no friendly amendment.
All right, so I have a second.
Second with no
Second.
friendly
Well,
amendment.
there we go. Councilmember Cole, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
I want a seat in that truck. We gotta get snow.
Speaking of naming things, I had a resident walk by our place, and she asked if there's a name for the snowman.
Kenny.
Huh?
What?
The name of the snowman is Kenny.
Really?
Yes.
All right. Well, I hope they're watching. I told them I'd try to find out. I had no idea it was a name for the snowman, so.
Where did that come from?
Where'd that?
Your dad, I know, was involved in quite a bit with that, so,
I don't
you know, is that the guy's name who made it, designed it?
No, it is not.
Where did it
You're just gonna keep it to
I
yourself, or what?
challenge that by calling Sue Springborn.
Yeah. Phone a friend. Okay, well, thank you, sorry to interrupt, but I didn't want to forget that, 'cause I told her, I said, I don't know, but I'll ask. Kenny it is,
That's right.
For tonight.
for tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Sue has her real story.
All right.
Could have name a snowman, too. Mm-hmm. All right, next up, reports from city manager and departments. Met today with staff. Fire's been having training done for code enforcement, along with other things. They've turned in their letter of intent for replacing the engine for the fire truck, so they're getting that process moving forward. Public Works has been working on the EAB trees with the grant that they got. It's a $400,000 grant. $100,000 of that will be available to low income for the public, for them to get access to it. They're putting together an application process for that right now, so that will be released soon. With the nice weather, they've been able to get some more trees taken care of early this year, which is good. They usually try to do, about 125 of them a year, and now they'll be able to do more, but now with getting a contractor in here and helping out with that process, that'll work well. They've been doing maintenance on well 5. I think they've completed that. Or pulled all out right now, gotcha.
You bumping my hand until it happens? All right, okay, good.
Electric department's also been doing some lighting work in some of the wells, also the Public Works building. Had some, we won't even get into the Vector truck. Carrie's getting ready to start planning the city garage sales. We're getting the signs ready to order for that, coming up May 2nd through the 4th. Finance was having the auditors back Monday through Wednesday, and then they'll be back for the final time for the first week in March to finish up the audit. SPD about the LexisNexis program, the records management program. They found that there were software issues of communication between our system and Ramsey County. They also found a neighboring community that was having some issues, so we got IT involved, and they're working on that communication to get that up and running. Like he said, that they have their 2 new officers on staff now, so they are at full staff. March 7th will be coming up. They'll be having a swearing-in ceremony as well as their annual awards, so that'll be nice.
Very nice.
Community development, we're still working on the onboarding of Rum River. That's going well. Getting the RFP packed together for the park design concept. Electric's been, just got some people back from Transformer School down in Marshall. Like I said, they're working on lighting upgrades in the buildings, working on job planning and prep for the 2024 season, once the warmer weather starts. And that's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you very much. Reports for council commissions and committees. Councilmember Norby.
The Planning Commission meeting in February was canceled due to no action items. The next Planning Commission meeting will be on March 7th.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Wong.
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge that we were able to identify two new commissioners, and thank you for voting them in on the consent agenda. We also had a third, so we're hoping that they'll be able to join us in a student capacity. But we're really excited. I think our candidates or our new commissioners have a lot to offer, so, and a lot of connections to artists. So looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And their next meeting is tomorrow here at 6:30.
Thank you. I appreciate being able to be a part of the group and be able to do that. Councilmember Schwer.
Parks and Rec was canceled in January due to both of our chair and vice chair out. The next meeting will be in here on the 28th at 6:30.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Cole.
The last DDA meeting was canceled due to lack of a quorum, and we will not be having a meeting this month.
Okay. Thank you. All right, general business.
I had the wonderful opportunity to attend the 120 redevelopment section on a week ago today. There was 2 new plans and a bunch of intersection changes put out. I've had several residents reach out to me, and I am trying to work with WSB to find out if they are online. And to those residents that have reached out, I will contact you as soon as I know more. And also, I invite everyone to come, I believe, see everyone on Tuesday, the 27th at the Historical Society.
Yes, good reminder. Thank you.
Yeah, just want to say that the firefighter appreciation dinner went really well, and just a big thank you to them and all the work that they do helping out our city and responding to all sorts of situations, including dogs in water. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I too had the pleasure of attending that event. It was a very nice recognition. Other than that, I'll see you all on the 27th at the Historical.
Yeah, great reminder.
Welcome back. You were duly missed.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for entrusting me with your shoes and the car keys. I didn't crash the car.
Oh, good. I wonder
Lisa-
why the coordinated car was running around town.
Councilmember Wong did a phenomenal job last year, so thank you
Yep.
for entrusting me with the keys this year.
Thank you.
It was a busy 3 weeks, a lot of city activities. February 23rd and 24th was the open house. Several of us were present for both of which. I think Councilmember Wong has a new position in the electric department now, being able to exchange whatever the heck those things are up on the long top poles.
Yeah, I
Insulators, what are they called?
Nice.
What is it? Fuses.
Fuses, insulators, it's
Yeah.
120, 121. So just big shout out to everyone for the time, energy, and effort put forth to put something together for council and the commissions and committees to be able to come in and tour Public Works as well as come in here and the police garage and looked for contraband hidden in cars and other things as well. So phenomenal night. Just wish that Mr. Winnick was passing out real $100,000 bills, not $100,000 bars, but appreciate that. January 26th was the Fire Department Appreciation Dinner. Also had the opportunity to attend that. Thank you for all. February 2nd, I attended the Minnesota Mayor's event. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity to attend that, for that information along. It was great to meet all the other mayors from around the community and talk about common themes, common problems, common projects. So it was exciting. I tried to deputize a posse while you were gone. I tried to put a proclamation out while you were gone. I got shot down by everybody.
I thought there'd be a Tim Cole day when I showed up, but no, there wasn't.
That's every day.
That's every day. At least I know now.
You can't leave anymore this year.
Oh, thank you. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking over and filling in. I appreciate your hard work on that. And you could tell by looking at me in Norwegian with a little color. So I was gone for a little while. Now I look like the extra crispy Colonel from Colonel Sanders. But it was enjoyable. It was an enjoyable trip, and I thank everybody that pitched in. And I really felt sad that I missed the fun open houses. And so I thank everybody. Thank you very much. Can I get a motion to close, please?
So moved?
So move. Councilmember Norby.
Second.
Second, Councilmember Wong. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Have a great night. Appreciate it.